Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, October 25th, 2016. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Joined, as always, on Tuesdays by Duane Long. Duane, this is the first Tuesday BM5 we have done since X. But Ohio State has lost. I can't even remember that far back. How are you today?
Well, still working through the fog of that. I just wasn't ready for that one. If anyone had asked me before the season to name one team that I did not expect to beat the Buckeyes, and just one team that just said I thought could, Penn State would have been down the list. I just did not see this coming.
This is one of those games where I guess sometimes on Tuesday we've moved on and sometimes we haven't. This would fall into the latter. Duane, you wrote a pretty intense game review that was on the Front Row Premium message board, the only spot you can find it after the game for Duane's spur-of-the-moment, adrenaline-juiced opinions. Now that you've had a few days to sit and stew or sit and ponder, give me your impressions of what you saw in the game, what still frustrates you in kind of a post-mortem.
Well, Dan, we still go back to the same old thing. And I've seen a couple of people on the message boards point out that we threw the ball 40 times and ran it 40 times. It's not so much throwing. To me, it's about, it seems like everyone knows what we're going to do. Everyone knows it's the same plays over and over again. We don't seem to be able to throw the ball down the field beyond about 10 yards. I mean, we had 2 third down passes under 5 yards. We throw the ball, when you throw the ball before, under the first down, you got to get a first down. And one of them was to the tight end. Like he's going to take a 3-yard pass and turn it into a 10-yard gain. Just stuff that just is not making any sense at all to me on the offense. We've got to do something a little bit different. It's like every defense that lines up against us says, oh, okay, I know what they're going to do here in this situation. And they have this handful of plays that they'll try out of that. We've got to do something. I can't understand, with all the speed we have, the fear that the team should have about our speed, and we're not doing any kind of misdirection. Can you remember last time we threw a screen pass? I can't remember last time we threw a screen pass. I cannot remember. It's just so frustrating watching the same handful of plays being run. Now, whether you're throwing it or running it is not the concern. To me, it's more about, let's do something to make them say, oh, what was that? When we do go off I call it a play pamphlet. It's maybe we could call it a play post-it note. That's how many plays we have on it. It's usually successful because nobody's looking for it. They know what we're going to do from the moment we line up. And it's just gotten so frustrating watching this happen. From 2 years ago, we had such a dynamic, it was an offensive juggernaut. You couldn't do anything about this team. We threw it over the top with Cardell Jones. We threw it over the top more with J.T. Barrett when he was in there. And now we won't throw the ball down the field. We just absolutely refuse to.
I mean, the reason for lack of change is usually one of two reasons. One, stubbornness, or two, lack of creativity. Which one do you think it is?
I got a question of creativity, because the stubbornness just doesn't really make sense to me. That when something's not working and you keep doing it, I just think these guys just do not have they just don't have it. And you've got to go back to that. We can try to find things wrong with players. So many people are trying to dump it on Barrett, and that's just not even, I'm not even going to talk about that. Like I said, we came back last year with essentially the same team that won the national championship in 2014. And we're number one preseason, unanimous. And the offense sputters all year. Two different quarterbacks. One was a record-setting freshman. The other made it to the NFL basically off of 3 games. And these guys cannot get the offense going in the right direction all year. And here we are this year. What's different? Herman's gone. We got Warner in there as the OC, and Beck is a quarterback coach. The quarterbacks are not getting any better. J.T. Barrett is no better quarterback right now than he was 2 years ago. He's just not. He's good. He's real good. But he's not any better. I mean, enough of this. It's really time to consider something else. Now, specifically this game, something that's my frustration about the team in general. But this game, special teams really, really let us down. And that's where we lost the game. We're used to being the better special teams unit on the field any game we're in, and we weren't Saturday night. That killed us.
Where do you see the team going from here? Do you feel like these are correctable mistakes, blip in the road, or a sign of things to come?
Well, one thing I got to point to is the last 2 years when we lost games, we got better. That's my hope. I've just really lost faith completely in the offensive staff. I think Urban Meyer needs to step in and just say, okay, I'm running this. You guys are just cogs. I'm gonna call the plays, and this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to run practice, and this is what we're going to do in practice. I really think that this needs to happen. Like I said, we cannot ignore the elephant in the middle of the room, and that is that the offense has just bogged down, and we have new coaches in there. Last year and this year, we're seeing the same thing, and it's because of the coaches. This offense, with this much talent, there's absolutely no way anybody should hold us under 40 points. Maybe Alabama could. I don't know. I don't know if anybody could. 2 years ago, Alabama couldn't hold this team under 40 points, and they had a great defense then. Well, we had a great offensive coordinator, and now we don't. And we don't have a good quarterback coach. So it's just the reality. People are trying to defend them, and it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I'll say this. If you work back to front, meaning you just look at the results and use that to kind of determine your impressions of the team. Now I have formed opinions of these kids because we've covered them since they were 15 years old. But if I look at Ohio State's offense right now, the only truly explosive player on the team is Curtis Samuel. That is an issue to me because I know for a fact there are more guys on the offense that have the potential to be explosive. That's on the coaches. There has to be a scheme created here where we're taking advantage of just the raw talent we have. And I don't understand. I don't care what anyone tells me. You have to go over the top a certain amount of times to put fear in the defense. There's no fear. That's the word you used earlier that I picked up on. There's no fear on the defense. You know what I'm saying? There's no fear of missing one tackle and seeing someone go the length of the field. Those guys are on our team and just don't seem to be getting the ball in space, or the deep throws aren't connecting. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a scheme issue or what. But what's your opinion on that?
Well, you have to. Here's the thing. You know, completing those big throws is great, but you at least have to throw them to keep the safeties out of the box. Right now, they know we're not going over the top. Last year, after the Michigan State loss, they said it. We knew you weren't going to throw the ball. We knew you weren't going to try to get over top of us. You at least have to try. The safeties have to be safeties. They have to make sure to keep those guys in front of them. So if we're not going to throw it, I don't get it. I don't understand why we won't even attempt to make those throws. And as you're saying, we don't scare anybody. We just don't. And we've got all these guys that can run. we blew Benjamin Victor's red shirt to throw him the ball one time. I don't remember him being back in the game. I can't remember last time I saw Austin Mack. It's just not happening, and I don't understand why. One thing that I've offered on the message board, I've offered this on the message boards is I think we've got too many guys out there running around. JT is not really connecting with them. He doesn't know these guys as well. They were younger guys that he's working with there. Guys, he was working with the first team. He was not working with these backup receivers. Well, cut the number of guys down and let him get more familiar with them. I think that would help.
I give James Clark credit because it looks like he got open on that last play, but we ran our two memorable deep routes to McLaurin and James Clark. That's not what they were brought here to do. I'm sorry. I realize they're nice slot guys or even can play some on the outside with some speed, but I'm sorry. At Ohio State, you don't recruit 5'8" guys to be the deep threat. That's just not the case.
We're not using them. I don't think we got the right guys in there. Paris Campbell is a sprint champion. He's proven to be reliable with his hands. He had some problems when he first came in, but he's gotten that straightened out. He was not a receiver in high school. He's had to really learn how to catch the ball, how to use his body, how to put himself in position to make catches. And now when we don't throw the ball down the field to him either. I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Well, let's hope it gets fixed against Northwestern. What do you see out of Pat Fitzgerald's crew? They had a high water mark a few years ago and then have really struggled, but they seem to have righted the ship somewhat this season. What do you see out of the Wildcats?
I haven't actually watched them, but I have been paying attention that they've won 3 in a row. So maybe he's found his formula. And, maybe we're going to have a bigger challenge this week than what we thought we were going to have. I didn't think that this would be a big game, but maybe it is. We need to right our ship. We need to get back on course. We're talking about still being in the running for a playoff berth. We got to play better. That we are still in it doesn't mean we're going to make it. The argument is a one-loss Big Ten champion is going to be in, and that's a strong argument. But we've also got to look like, we don't know what's going to happen. I think the wild card is Louisville. Would they take Louisville over Ohio State? I don't know. They're both one-loss teams, but, I don't think we want to be in a position where it's either or. I think we want to show we were the better team. We got to do that. We've got to find our mojo again. I just have questions about whether we're ever going to be the offense we can be with all this talent. Look at what we got coming in next year, Dan. Ty John Lindsay and Grimes are guys that, that's a pair that, could be starters for 3 years. But are we going to be able to use them effectively with the guys we got out there running the show? I don't know. I'm really at a loss right now for what to do about for this year we're stuck with them. But I really hope Meyer sits down and looks at 2014 versus 2015 and 2016 and tell me there's not a huge difference.
Statistically, you can break it down. Last year they had about half as many passing touchdowns, but they're not on pace to get back to the level they should be at anyway. So it should be very interesting. We'll have a ton more coverage on the Northwestern matchup coming up later this week. Duane, we've reached that portion of the show. What is your eye test top 5? This week should be quite interesting.
Well, number 1 is obviously Alabama. They're the one team that has proven themselves all year. I'm going to put Washington in at number 2. Don't know about the Pac-12 schedule, so I'm not going to say they're clearly the number 2. Michigan is the number 3 team in the country. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to put Louisville in at number 4. And I'm going to put a tie at number 5 with Clemson and Ohio State. There's just too much talent on both those teams. Anything can happen. They find their rhythm. They can take on Alabama.
That's why we call it Bucknuts. It's not called Buck Rational Observers. Otherwise, you'd be somewhere else. We appreciate Duane's time today, and he's going to get better, Buckeye. Stay tuned.